Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on The 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, Volume 2. So this volume starts up with Rentaro, Shizuka, Hakari, and Kurane. They had just finished, or not finished tests, but test results are in, and they're going to see how well they did. Rentaro forgets his phone and goes back to the classroom where he sees a girl sitting in class, not going to check the results. They lock eyes, and lightning shoots through them. And we've got another one of Rentaro's soulmates. Her name is AI Nano. She is incredibly smart. She is number one on the ranking of the test results. She got a perfect score, and she is all about efficiency. If it doesn't matter, she's I don't know how to describe it, but she's super straightforward in what she wants, and she takes the clearest path to get there. Later on in this chapter, it's highlighted by them doing a science test where they have to put a slice of onion in a microscope and they have to draw what they see, where Nano is just ignoring that and just copying it straight from the textbook, and she says there's no point in doing this experiment, people have already done it here, what's the point in replicating this? So she's all about efficiency and getting things done as straightforward as possible. And she sees no use for love, right? High school romance, that's not gonna last. I don't need it. But she is unable to stop thinking about Rentaro, and she decides all right, I will ask him out. She does that. Rentaro says yes, and she immediately is all right, I'm sorry. I only asked you out in hopes that you would say no, so I could get over this. It was the quickest way to do that. I don't want to date you. And Rentaro eventually convinces her, all right, we'll go on a date, and we'll see how that works. And at the end of it, you don't really see a reason for us to continue dating. That will be it. And so Rentaro and AI go on a date at an amusement park. Rentaro brings an old camera, a Polaroid camera that, no film, no SD card. It's just take a picture pops out, that's it. And so he is photographing the entire park date with Nano. And eventually, at the end of the date, he's all right, what do you think? Are you interested in dating me? She says no. There's no point. Love, high school romance, is useless. There's no reason for me to be in love or whatever. And Rentro's all right, fine. He goes to burn all the photos that he took, and she steps in and stops him. And basically his whole point is look, just because you're trying to focus on being efficient and getting things done as quickly and again, efficiently as possible, doesn't mean that there's no point in this. All these photos, I could have burned them. You say this day didn't matter. Well, obviously it did, right? Just because something isn't efficient or straightforward or this and that doesn't mean it's pointless. And so he introduces Nano to everybody, and they decide to go on a big group date because everybody else is kind of jealous. Where it's oh, Nano got to go on a date with Rentaro before any of us. And so they all take a trip to the pool, where this is kind of a Kurane arc, where she is... It's the typical, oh, she's got small breasts, and so she's kind of shy about that, right? Nano is stacked, Hakari is stacked, Shizuka is cute, so she doesn't count. So Kurane's kind of shy and keeping to herself. Rentaro and the other three are all having fun. Eventually, Rentaro starts to drown, and Nano and Hakari are unable to resuscitate him because when they try to give him mouth-to-mouth, they just kiss him, which, first of all, don't give people mouth-to-mouth. It doesn't really work. Just do compressions. And so they run off to find a lifeguard. Some random guys, harass them. Nano makes, a big stand of, I will hang out with these guys. Hakari, you go get help. you've been dating Rentaro longer, so he won't care as much if it's me that deals with these people. And Hikari's like, no, don't do that. He cares about us all equally. And then Rentaro shows up. Karane had saved him in quotes. Basically, he was unconscious, and Karane shows up and is like, hey, what are you doing? Nano and Hikari are getting harassed over here. And he like snaps up and he takes care of the situation. And then Shizuka, who can't swim, she was on like one of those little inflatable rings. She got stranded in the like wave pool or whatever. Her thing popped and she's like stranded. So Rentaro runs off to find her. Her phone battery runs out, so she's unable to speak. She gets the courage to shout out for him, and just like a tiny little voice comes out, and he snaps like his attention to her and saves her. And there's that arc. It's also a fun one. And then, God, we got a second girl in this volume. Like, I don't know if this continues, but I think it might for a while, at least a few volumes, where like new girls are kind of introduced in pairs, where like at the start of a volume we'll get one, in the middle of a volume we'll get one. Our new girl in this one is Kusuri. She is part of like the chemistry club, I think. She is all about making drugs. And so first of all, Rentaro locks on to like a tall, big-chested girl and feels like the shock of when he meets one of his soulmates. And then when he goes back the next day, she's gone. There's just a tiny girl there. And that's Kusuri. Kusuri is excited to see him, introduces herself, and like makes Rentaro take a drug that makes him magnetic. Kusuri takes another drug that also makes her magnetic, and they like stick to each other for a while. And you get like a cute panel of her hugging him with like her cheek all squished up. And so she gave Rentaro a drug to make him fall in love with her, and eventually he basically goes into shock from it, because Kusuri is the girl that Rentaro had originally seen. She messed up her body with drugs, and so she is mostly a small, petite, lolly-type character, but occasionally she can become her original tall, big-breasted form if she takes medicine. She has like a magic cure-all drug, which is like, it cures her being small. It cures Rentaro basically overflowing with love, because he was already in love with her because they're soulmates, and then she gave him a love potion which was causing problems. And then in the next like 2-chapter arc featuring Kusuri, that cure-all medicine is going to come and play again. So Kusuri is now a part of the group, and I like how every time a new girl shows up, it's like Rentaro brings her out. It's like, I would like this girl to be my girlfriend as well. I hope you understand. And like all of them are giving like silly, the dumb reactions. Like Hikari's like, oh my goodness, he's getting another girlfriend, but he's not abandoning us. And I think by this point, Karane is kind of done. It's like, all right, yeah, of course you've got another one. Let's just keep going. Shizuka's reaction is like, well, I wasn't even one of the first ones, so I can't complain. And Nano's like, yes, having multiple women, that's very efficient of you. So the next arc we've got in this is the Kiss Zombie arc, where Kusuri makes medicine that would make Rentaro want to kiss all the girls, and accidentally all the girls end up drinking that medicine. And what happens is they become kiss zombies, and so Kusuri and Rentaro basically running around trying to put a stop to it. They're kiss zombies, but they're not completely like mindless. Nano is still like herself, where she's able to like plan and like think about what would be the most logical place for them to go, and so she's hanging out at the chemistry club waiting for them. Shizuka is still Shizuka, and eventually like she's chasing Rentaro and trips, and even though she is a horrible, horrible kiss zombie, Rentaro basically goes around and immediately is taking care of her. And eventually, again, Kusuri's cure-all drug comes into play, where she gives it to everybody and they're all cured. And it's just like a fun little arc that shows sort of like where Kusuri, like the lesson of this is like Kusuri's like, I messed messed everything up with my medicine. I'll stop doing it. And everyone's like, no, you can't do that. You love it. And so it's fine. If you make mistakes, we're here to help. Something like that. And it's just a fun little arc. And then finally, I think this is the final chapter of this volume, we have Hakari bringing everybody to like this little, I think it's a weekly event where they do a bouquet toss, and whoever catches it gets to have her photo taken with her boyfriend in like a wedding dress. And it's just like a fun weekly event that people do. And so this is where we get the Rentrow family, that term sort of coined, which is great. And I really like how they kind of go out of their way to make the group feel like a family, and like they interact with each other a lot. So that's a lot of fun in my silly harem comedies. I like that. And so the Rentrow family decide, all right, we'll work together to catch the bouquet, and then we'll decide who gets the picture at the end. And we've got like a group of delinquents that are also trying to catch it for like their gang boss and her boyfriend, and they're funny recurring characters that come up throughout this series. Basically, we get a showdown. Rentrow family wins. Shizuka was supposed to be there, just moral support, waving the flag that said Rentrow family. Gets whisked away by the wind, ends up in the sky next to the bouquet, grabs it, almost falls and gets hurt, but is saved by Nano, Hakari, and like fully grown Kusuri's boobs. She falls and she bounces off them, and she's safe. And Karane, who was off doing something else, is thankful she wasn't there. And it's a funny little joke. And then Hakari has basically planned this whole thing. She really wants to get that wedding dress photo. She's rigged, like, we're going to draw straws to figure out who does it. She's given herself, like, a tell so she knows which one's the winner. And the goal was she'll make Nano pick first, because Nano will pick, like, the one very in the, like, way in the front that's most efficient to grab. And then Hakari was going to grab the one that she had marked previously. And eventually that goes out the window because Nano is like, all right, I'm not going to pick by myself. We'll just all pick it once. That's the best way. But Hakari ends up winning it anyway. She gets the photo with her and Rentrow all dressed up, but all the other girls join for the photo. And then the cliffhanger of this volume is Hakari asking Rentrow to break up with her. This is a good volume. I think we're almost at the end of the first season of the anime. I think volume 3 will finish it. And yeah, this is just like a fun, quick comedy. Like, we got so much done in this, right? We got 2 girls join the harem. We got a date arc, 2 date arcs, and the Kiss Zombie arc, plus stuff for the next volume. Like, this is just like a very quick-paced comedy manga, and it's just a lot of fun, and I'm continuing to enjoy it. Like, I would hope so. I've watched the anime, and this is my second time reading through a bunch of these volumes, so... anyway, great volume. I'm excited to reread volume 3. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.